Hi, I'm Hillsboro Mayor Steve Callaway, and thank you for joining us for this edition of Community Conversations. In 2021, a little over almost 2 years ago, Hillsboro Police Chief Jim Coleman launched the Hillsboro Police Community Advisory Group. And this group is essential to our community. And today you're going to find out why. And we're going to find out what it's like to serve on this advisory group. And to help answer these questions and understand the purpose of the group, we have several Hillsboro residents. We have Taneshia Redmond, who is a 5-year resident and the co-chair of our community advisory group. We have Lynette Thompson, who's also a Hillsboro resident and a member of the group. And we have Jim Coleman, our chief of police. And so thank you all for joining us today for this important community conversation. So to start off with, why do you think there's a need for this community advisory group in Hillsboro? And what do you think the relationship between the police and the community, why do you think that's important to you? We'll start, Taneshia, thank you.
Yes, well, I think that this group ultimately is really important for the community, just because everything that's been going on with just like police reform, all of those things, it's just really important to bridge the gaps between the community and the police, and just to understand that the police are part of our community as well, not just the police and then the community. And just, especially for the youth, I have children who are growing up in this time who hear negative things about police, and my son really wants to be a police officer. So I think it's very important to show him that this is a great opportunity, that the police are here to serve the community. And I think the value of this group is just to bridge the gap to the community, and hearing from people, just gathering people from the community and hearing those perspectives and being able to talk to each other about it, I think is very valuable.
Thank you. Lynette.
I think what's important is to be a community. We have to feel safe together. And I think we need the police to keep us safe, but then we have to keep them safe by working together.
Very good. Chief.
Yeah, I think one of the things I learned from police reform, Mayor, was that it's not a good communication strategy to only, really dive into what the police department does every day and what our history is with things like school resource officers, or what we do with when we have crowds that gather in our city. That it's not the right time and it's not frequent enough to only address those when community concern rises up. What I pulled out of police reform was that police departments need to get away from trying to tell people what they do and explain the rationale from a law enforcement perspective, and really try much harder to engage in a two-way conversation, and try with the addition of experience and understanding, what the law allows us to not, or doesn't allow us to do and allows us to do, to come up with solutions that best fit the communities that the police department serve.
So when you started this advisory group, what were your desired outcomes?
I wanted for the community to feel like it had a say in things like how we operated our body-worn camera system, and that we could involve them in what parts of the department are front-facing that anybody can name off of, but what in the background is making a difference for you. Some of the things that aren't always out front. But I will say that what I've ultimately pulled out of it is not exactly what I had anticipated I would. And it's been very helpful to me, I think, in just my personal development as a leader, and just understanding, what the police department should be engaging in, both in communications and in activities, not assuming that those things are what works best in Hillsboro.
Good. So when you heard that this group was being formed, what motivated you to apply? And what were your hoped for outcomes with your involvement?
Yes, so what motivated me to apply, honestly, when I think about it, it's my children, because they are the next generation. And I feel like there's so much negativity around the police force, and I wanted them to see that that's not true everywhere. It's true in some places, but I believe that in Hillsboro, we have a great police department, and my son wants to be a police officer. So I just wanted to show him that being in this community and engaging with the police officers, you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to look over your shoulder, that they're here to protect us and just serve, and we can have a relationship. And I just think for me that I really wanted to show even my family and friends that even being a woman of color, that I could participate in a community group like this and really see an impact and see a change. So yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was motivated too by the conversations, the negative conversations nationally, and also recognizing that the police have been tasked with things that they were never intended to do, and feeling a sense of unfairness and injustice in that, and then criticizing them for how they're doing a job that they were never intended to do. I'm thinking specifically of mental health. And so just wanting to participate and help, help bridge that between the community and the police in this locale.
And so you mentioned helping to bridge. And so when I think about the importance of connections, relationships, trust, then how do you, as members of the advisory group, help create and do that, and create those connections, create that trust and relationships between the community and the police department?
Well, for me, I homeschool my children. So that's where I have been able to kind of partner and help with that. So we've been able to just have some field trips to the police station and really talk to the police and see what they do. And I think that's helped the next generation, so they can kind of get an eye in, and even their parents, because there are some parents who are kind of like, I don't know if we should even go to the police department. But just seeing what our community does and seeing what our police officers do on a day-to-day basis, and just for me in this group, I've been able to establish more relationships with different police officers and be able to reach out and even have them come to community events, and that's been awesome. And just talk to family members and friends, and even ask community members, like, what would you like to see from our police department? Like, how do you view our police department? So I think that has helped me. So just being able to speak to the community and being able to help bring officers to events and things like that. So it's been great.
Great.
That was some of the discussion that we had when we began the group, because we are the inaugural members. So it was kind of like, what are we doing and how do we do it? And we had a discussion. Are we a community-facing group and we're advocating that direction, or are we? Do we face the police department and represent that way? So me personally, I'm a teacher. I connect with a lot of kids and can advocate in that direction. But mostly I feel like we're representing the community and different parts of the community, because Taneshia and I have different experiences, and each of the members has different experiences. And I feel like we represent that toward the chief and the police department.
Very good. Thank you. And Chief, how do you use the advisory group then to help create some of those relationships as well?
The thing that comes to mind most, Mayor, is you need to have your view broadened, and I certainly have had to do that in the wake of really important incidents. You're always you want to make sure that the people you have working with you can focus still on what the job that they need to do, and that they're not distracted unnecessarily, because their attention really is important in some of the details that they do. And I feel like I've had to learn that I need to broaden my focus even further, not just attending to the people that continue to do the job, but I've been told by the advisory group a couple of times, like, hey, Chief, we would have liked to have heard from you on this at this time. And not just you should have said something, but it's like, and we think you should, your tone should be this. And the way this is where it should be, literally, this is how you should reach us. It's not always just by posting something on social media. It's not always by talking to the media. There's a lot of other ways. They literally have said, like, this is where I looked and I didn't see it. And that's really valuable as we talk about, what the community, trying to fill the gaps that might spring assumptions or rumors, and trying to fill them with, perspective and at least facts from our point of view that can really help people understand better what just transpired in their community, or how what transpired something else affects their community.
Thank you. So then you mentioned is starting this group out. There's no roadmap. You are the charter members, and so before you can begin to establish, that trust and relationship with the community and bring that back, you also have to establish that trust and those relationships within, the group. As you talked about why you applied and why you were motivated, those reflect very different people. So how did you as a group go about, establishing yourself, creating trust, within the 7 members?
Baby steps. We took it slow.
Yeah.
We took it slow, but we had some really difficult conversations and going through that together. Tyree Nichols, that was a really challenging conversation that we had amongst the group, as an example, and just working through that from everybody's unique perspective, because we each represent something different, which I like about the makeup of the group, is that we it's not homogenous. And so we're just working through that. When you work through tough things together, you bond. And I don't know. I don't know what would happen if we had turned on each other, but we just have a good group of people that are willing to listen.
Good.
Yeah, I think ultimately that is what has to happen. We have to listen and also have an open heart and realize that we do come from different backgrounds. So an experience that I may have experienced, you may have never experienced. So instead of trying to correct it or trying to be in that situation, if you've never been in that situation, you can never understand. So just honestly having an open heart and, like she said, just listening. And Tyree Nichols, honestly, that was our biggest discussion that we've had. And I think that is where we established trust, because we really had to dig deep and really understand, even though the situation may not be happening here in Hillsboro, these situations are happening all over. And we cannot turn a blind eye or turn our shoulder and not talk about it. So I think that understanding that even though that situation is not happening here, and having an open heart and open mind and talking about it and understanding people's hurts that they may be feeling with that, is definitely how we manage our emotions in the group. And
we felt it here. Tanesia's right. It didn't happen here. We felt it here, and then that's what we discussed in the group. It didn't matter that it happened over there. We felt it here.
And so in these discussions, when there is, I guess, unresolved issues or things that there's not a consensus on, how do you move on from that, or how do you accept that?
We're not a consensus model of a group, so we don't have to have consensus. We're not like voting on something and then giving the answer to him. He wants to hear different perspectives, so we give different perspectives and we discuss those different perspectives, and we disagree with each other openly in the discussion. And so Chief gets lots of information coming from different perspectives. So there isn't a need to agree.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's what is great about the group is that there is no vote. We don't have to come to the same conclusion. We can actually collaborate and put our different ideas and respect each other's opinions in the group, which makes it such a great group. So I think that we don't feel the pressure of you have to decide this is the way it goes. So I think that that's really important in our group.
You know, I heard a saying recently, it was our superintendent, recently retired Superintendent Mike Scott, who says, you know, your biggest victory, your biggest growth will occur on the other side of discomfort. And that's, you know, as you talk about some of the things you've grappled with and worked through, I think of that, you know, on the other side of discomfort is some of our greatest growth.
That's what we experienced.
We did.
Nice. Chief.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is really that I take away from these difficult conversations is I think we try too hard sometimes to try and change each other's minds, when really it's about just moving towards each other in a direction. You're not going to, you know, and something as controversial as Tyree Nichols, you're not likely to get to a point where you're in lockstep with somebody who initially disagreed with your perspective on it. But I think where we have opportunity is where we get closer than we were before we had the conversation, and we can start to see the places we can move forward and the places we can make a difference. For me, it's been a personal learning experience during these difficult conversations to not, and I wouldn't say I've always been 100% successful here, is to not interject in the middle and try and be a problem solver right there in the moment, but to sit back and listen and then synthesize it and make, you know, not try and satisfy people or feel defensive, but to really take it in and understand that there's a lot to be learned, and that whatever the response of our police department is going to be, it's going to have to be really thought out well, and from taking advice from the people that offer it to us.
And so this leads me to believe that while you may have an agenda set up for the meeting, there are current events that are talked about and can kind of derail the agenda, because this really is more timely and more important. And so then when you're discussing these kinds of things, whether they're planned or unplanned, how do you feel at the end of the meetings? You know, frustrated, exhilarated, inspired? What's it like for those of us that are learning about this group right now?
I think it's all the above. Like, we don't leave our meeting every month feeling the same, because every meeting is different. There's so many different topics that we're going through. Like, sometimes we have a training and we're super excited, like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. And then there's other meetings where we're having those serious, heartfelt topics that no one really wants to talk about because they are uncomfortable, and it's hard to get in a room and really have true, honest conversations. So when we have those, I don't think anybody leaves. We're never upset with anyone, but yeah, you're feeling hurt, you're feeling frustrated. Just, there's so many emotions going into the group. And I think that is what is so good about this group, is that we really put our heart into this group. And yeah, that's why this group is working, because in order to be on an advisory group, you have to have a heart for it. So it's different every time, different meetings.
Well, and Chief, so monthly meetings, and there's 7 people on the committee, on the advisory group. Do we see any turnover in the 2 years that this has been going on? What, what's, I guess, for lack of a better word, what's been the commitment level that you've seen from the group?
I think the police department, and certainly myself included, feels really fortunate with this initial group of people who stepped up to be a part of it. They went through a pretty rigorous process to get chosen, including to have to suffer through a 1-hour meeting with me just to get to know each other. And it's really paid off. We have had 2 members who have had to leave because of it's just too much of an impact on their family. We need to meet in the evenings so we can accommodate, most of our work schedules or just our commitments to friends and family. And both of those members had really stuck it out for a long time and tried to make it work even when it was a struggle for them scheduling wise. We still have a relationship with both of those members. It's given us the opportunity to bring in somebody new kind of midstream to get great perspectives. And so I feel very fortunate that over almost 2 years now that we've had very little turnover, and kind of naturally we didn't set terms in the beginning. So naturally we've come to this situation where people either life circumstances have changed and it's good that a 2-year term fits them, or they'd like to serve another year, and we've kind of balanced out and we're now in a really good place where we can have a staggered term of service and therefore keep some continuity as we move forward.
Thanks. Hillsboro is a city, and as an organization are deeply committed to our youth. We have our Youth Advisory Council. We have youth members on a number of our boards and commissions. And we also have a youth member on the advisory group. And how is that, for you, all of you, how is that having that youth perspective and that youth voice present in the room?
It's amazing. It's very important because the youth, they are the future. So many times adults are making up rules and laws and things for the youth, but honestly, we need their input because we don't know exactly how they feel, and their opinions are so important. So I just think having that different perspective is mind-opening. Just to be there and to just give her experiences, or whoever we may choose in the future, to give their experiences so that we can kind of piggyback off of them and understand what they're going through, and seeing the police department, the community through their lens, because our experiences are different. So we're going to totally see things in a different light. So that's very important.
Good.
And hopefully they carry forward.
Good. And, when I think also of, how our police department is so present, it's so visible in our community, whether it's our parades, whether it's our markets, our festivals, national night out, and you see the neighborhood gatherings and the parties that are held, and really the respect, but the appreciation that residents receive, members of our police department. It's always fun to see. And, so this group does such a great job of just adding onto, that relationship and creating another level of trust and bringing another community-facing group to our police department, so that they understand that it really is a two-way street. Lynette, you talked before about the responsibility of our police department to keep us safe, but we also have a responsibility to keep them safe as well. And I really believe that is a very strong message to send, that it is a two-way street, and we all have, and we have that obligation to keep each other safe as well.
And I don't think people necessarily understand that we have an obligation and a responsibility to them.
And Chief, we had our local option, pass last a year ago, 83%, and that supports our police, our fire, and our parks maintenance. And, just that overwhelming, yes vote, I know is a direct reflection of the trust that people have for the departments and our city, that are receiving the funds for that. And as a new resident, thank you, for coming and living here and choosing Hillsboro. Thank you for making such an important impact. And we appreciate all of you. And I'll just offer the opportunity for one last takeaway to our viewing audience. Is there anything else you would like us to know about the importance and the impact of our advisory group?
Well, I just want to say that in Hillsboro is an amazing city. It's great to live in. Just overall, the police department, just having this group, I think is so important because it represents diversity in the community. And I think that being a diverse community is something that we really strive for. And I feel like just having different perspectives and from race, age group, just so many different perspectives is so important. And I think that having a group like this in a city is truly going to help bring all different people. I mean, we already have a high number, but just more people, more consistency, and seeing the police and just bridging those gaps and building that trust between the community and the police department, because we do have new people moving here. Not everyone has lived here for years. So just having something like this and having members who can go out and just showcase the love that I'm going to say the love that the police have for our community, I think is a great, great opportunity. So.
Very good. Thank you.
I think it's been really valuable to be able to find out how do we do things here, and is it the same as it's done in the rest of the nation, and being reassured that we do it differently. By we, I mean Chief does it differently, the Hillsboro Police does it differently, so that we can feel safe and build that close community that Taneshia was talking about. And having that opportunity in this group to say, would that happen here? And being reassured that is not how we do things here. And I really like that.
Good. Chief.
Mayor, if I can follow on what everybody has said, we've invested a lot, in outreach. We've asked for a lot of support and put a lot of personnel and resources into outreach over the last couple of years. And it's been even more than I imagined as far as beneficial to the police department. And I hope the community, our ability to recruit today's potential law enforcement professionals really care about the working environment that they're going to be in. And you can't beat Hillsboro. You just can't. I don't even know if anybody's equal to us, let alone can beat us. And it also, I would hope that our police department is a selling point for people that want to come and live and or work in our community, that as people do research and as they consider where to put their precious resources as far as buying a home or spending their time, that they see the police and community engagement as a real positive for Hillsboro and one of the things that makes it appealing. And we just want to build on that. One of the things that I'm very excited for the advisory group is that we're going to begin work on our vision. And we feel really good about our mission and our values, but we've purposely waited to work on our vision so we could really test this communication between community members and the police department. We feel like that's where we really need their investment. So our goal is for the community to look at our vision statement at some point in the future and see where their fingerprints are on it. At the same time, making it really embraceable for the people that work at the police department now.
Very good. Well, thank you. Thank you all for being here today. But more importantly, thank you for being present in the advisory group. Thank you for serving in the important ways that each and every one of you do. And thanks to all of you for watching. We're glad that you joined for this month's edition of Community Conversations. And we look forward to having you back again next month.